Namaste. Welcome to UGC E-Pathshala for Postgraduate Studies. I am Anita Khanna and I teach Japanese in Jawaharlal Nehru University. And today we are going to study about Yokai. In English, it's monsters and goblins. It's a part of paper 15, an introduction to Japanese literature in English. Objective. What is the objective of studying this module? The objective is to understand the world of goblins, demons, other supernatural beings in Japan, as it constitutes a part of their folk beliefs, culture, and is reflected in literature. So, in order to have a understanding of the ghost stories and the petrifying situations portrayed in the literature, the e-text of this module is based on Komatsu essay of CJS. Professor Komatsu is a Director General of Nichibunken, and he has visited Jawaharlal Nehru University in the Center for Japanese Studies as a visiting professor. I am reading the e-text of this module. What is a yokai? Defining yokai. In Japan, there is increased interest in yokai as reflected in part by many exhibitions on the subject in various art institutions and museums. It is said while academic research on yokai cultural theory and history is growing, it is still relatively new and scholars have yet to sufficiently define the term yokai. Therefore, I offer my own definition and provide an overview of yokai culture, history, and attributes. What is a yokai? It is indeed difficult to define. If you look for answers in the Japanese characters for yokai, you can imagine a being described as strange, mysterious, peculiar, and otherworldly or supernatural. I would say these words describe yokai in a broadest sense, but they only get at the seeds of its meaning. They don't by themselves adequately define yokai. Yokai has a wide range of meaning, and that meaning is not fixed. In its broadest sense, yokai include positive and negative phenomena and beings. However, more narrowly defined, yokai is generally understood as that which is negative. To illustrate, there is a mysterious phenomena called the Amida Raigo, which means when a religious Buddhist is near death and is said to go to the netherworld and sees a light appear in the western sky. Amid a strange sound and a purple sky, the Amida Buddha, Amitabh, a celestial Buddha, appears, flanked by bodhisattvas. Practitioners of Buddhism would likely attest that such phenomenon transpires due to the power of the Buddha and Buddhist deities. From this perspective, while it may be otherworldly, it would not necessarily be considered a yokai phenomenon. But for others, this is a strange, mysterious, otherworldly, and peculiar event, and is therefore clearly yokai phenomenon. If the Amida Raigo is interpreted as a trick on humans similar to the doings of Tengu or a Tanuki, or interpreted as a false illusion, then even religious people might categorize this as a negative yokai phenomenon. When an otherworldly mystical phenomenon occurs, there is usually a preconceived notion regarding whether it is positive or negative. Thus, the same numinous experience can have different interpretation, and people may use different epistemology to form their decision to determine whether the phenomena is positive or negative occurrence. We may consider whether gods are present and worshipped, whether it's a religious experience, are they revered holy spirits? If not, then the otherworldly spirit would likely have a negative connotation. In essence, if the otherworldly mysterious occurrence is related to a divine experience or sacred realm, it is viewed favorably and not as yokai. In contrast, if the occurrence is viewed apart from religion as something other than spiritual belief, it may be viewed as a negative and understood as a yokai phenomenon. Figure 1. This structure and system of interpretation is necessary to understand yokai, and it is at the core of yokai studies. We can surmise that when we are discussing yokai, we are referring to undesirable phenomena. In further understanding the complexity of the meaning of yokai, we might divide the concept into three realms. That is, we might explore yokai as A. An phenomenon, B. An entity, C. As a visual depiction. Figure 2. A. Yokai as a phenomena. Sphere A represents yokai as a phenomenon, event, incident, or the cause of phenomena, event or incident. Additionally, yokai is something that is experienced or understood through the five senses. First, there are yokai that have a weird shape or mysterious appearance, which is understood through sight. There are also yokai that appear alongside strange, mysterious sounds, understood through hearing, or a gruesome odor, understood through smell. Some yokai may come in direct contact with someone, touch, while others might come with an odd flavor or taste. The majority of yokai events materialize through sight and sound, and oftentimes it is a combination of the two. For example, if a peculiar looking creature appeared with a peculiar sound and peculiar odor, and those qualities are interpreted as negative or the cause of undesirable supernatural things, then it would be recognized as a yokai. Say you are working in mountain and decide to stay overnight in a small hut. From a distance you hear the chopping and falling of tree. The next morning you look around the area where you thought you heard the sound, but there is no tree on the ground. This phenomenon dates to ancient times and is called furusoma. If we interpret the sound to have been caused by the intervention of supernatural effects, we might regard this strange and unexplainable event as a yokai. However, if it is regarded as a phenomenon that can be reasonably explained, it is then a non-mysterious, non-yokai event. There are various mechanisms amid society that work to explain whether a creature that appears during an event or phenomena is interpreted as a yokai, and the above system of interpretation forms the basis of that premise. As such, all kinds of stories, large and small, come together to explain an event that can be described as that of yokai. Historically, we might imagine that because science was less developed in ancient times, incidents of inexplicable, weird, and mysterious phenomena or yokai events were more frequent, more common. Furthermore, yokai events were subject to regional interpretations, and some events, such as Furusoma, were named. The act of naming these shared incidents and experiences is important in considering how events are shared among and between communities. The act of naming has the additional effect of expanding the repertoire of yokai stories and characters, as will be discussed further. The accumulation of such stories led to the formation of yokai culture. While yokai as an event may be one domain of the meaning of yokai, such phenomena are influenced by some kind of corresponding existence. For example, that otherworldly yokai phenomenon, Furusoma, is influenced by the existence of a yokai. That is, Furusoma sounds of falling trees are often attributed to the existence of ghost of a lumberjack who died in the mountain. Yokai as an entity. The second classification of yokai, as represented in sphere B, is its existence, presence, or entity. There are many entities or beings that are part of the human world, including those that are supernatural or mysterious. Tengu and Tanuki are examples of such supernatural beings. To understand yokai as an entity, we must consider Japan's deep rooted animist worldviews, in which everything in nature is inhabited by Reikon. Reikon includes concepts such as Rei, in other words, soul, Oni, demon or ogre, and Mononoke, a haunting spirit. Animism acknowledges that Reikon most certainly dwell in animals, but also in mountains, rivers, trees, water, and rocks. Spoken human language even has a kotodama, spirit of the words. Reikon is personified and therefore carries emotions similar to that of humans. It can be happy or angry. Its various emotions are thought to mysteriously affect those who are in its immediate surrounding area. If the Reikon was angry, it may appear as a natural disaster or plague. On the other hand, if it was happy, it could result in fishermen coming back from sea with a big haul or an abundant harvest for farmers. In ancient times in Japan, people expressed and categorized the state of these reikon as areru, meaning rough, or nagomu, meaning calm. If the power of a spirit was very active and fierce, then people would say it was ara mitama, a rough spirit, and was to be feared. Conversely, a more passive or cool spirit was deemed nigi mitama, or a calm spirit, which is said to bring good fortune and happiness. Humans conducted rituals such as Chinkonsai to transform a rough spirit into a calm spirit. The rough spirits were categorized as monstrous, and out of control, and it was thought that the spirit either had not gone through a ritual to change its status or otherwise could not be pacified. This condition was understandably not welcome by humans. Those types of yokai entities are associated with undesirable yokai events. Further, a spirit being an unfavorable state, a rough spirit was often referred as a demon or oni. Many things and ideas despised by human beings were imbued upon oni. Spirits that carried disease were oni. Loud sound from the heavens, thunder were oni. Prison guards that torture those in hell were oni, and vengeful human and animal ghosts were oni as well. The oni was a composite of various rough spirits and a synonym for undesirable otherworldly spirits. As such, oni can bring forth disaster and misfortune. However, oni can be divided into two categories: those that can be controlled and those that cannot. One, oni most often appear in uncontrollable situations and at inopportune times. However, in some instances, they could be eliminated or transformed into a desirable spirit through ritual practices. For example, Yamata no Orochi, a serpent or a dragon, yokai with 8 heads and tails, was thought to be tamed only through ritual sacrifice. However, Susanoo, the Shinto god of storm and the seas, Susanoo determined that such sacrifice was not necessary to perform, and he slayed the beast. After it was slayed, according to folklore, the soul of the Yamata no Orochi went to live on Mount Ibuki in Omi-no-Kuni, present-day Shiga Prefecture. Local agricultural communities pray to the spirit to this day because it is a spirit that can bring the bounty of water or cause landslides and floods. Thus, the Orochi has dual characteristics as a spirit that vacillates between being revered and despised. Like Yamata no Orochi, Kitsune, the fox. The fox was also considered to be a spirit-like being with dual characteristics. Kitsune are known to enjoy interaction with human beings but are disliked as yokai because they can possess a human body or shape shift and practice trickery. On the other hand, Kitsune or the fox is ritually worshipped as Inari Okami and is associated with Abe no Seimei, a historical figure who, according to medieval folklore, was the son of a fox mother. Furthermore, Buddhist priests talked about a mysterious figure called the Tengu. This figure was in opposition to Buddhist gods and priests and is morphed into a kusotobi, a type of buzzard, a magical evil mash-up figure. Buzzard. Just as the Oni is the opposite form of Kami or human, the Tengu is the opposite form of Buddhist god or priest. However, even the Tengu needs to be further categorized to those that are worshipped and to those that are not. In a setback structure in Kurama Temple in northern Kyoto, there resides the Sanat Kumara or the defender Bodhisattva. and some believe that this is another form of the Tengu. While this particular Tengu figure is worshipped, most Tengu are not worshipped. Theoretically, you can say that anything that exists in this world, including animals, plants, rivers, and rocks, could potentially turn into a yokai. However, yokai manifestation was extremely contained, even though it would be surprising if such creatures as mosquitoes and bats turned into yokai. They were not depicted as yokai in the stories from the pre-modern era. At the same time as those otherworldly yokai phenomenon and entities became more specific and concrete, more detailed stories about them began to take shape. Yokai phenomena were told and retold, and eventually the stories made their way into the cities where artist imagination translated those intangible, invisible, ambiguous phenomena and entities into paintings and artwork that visually depicted these ideas with a physical form.